Laura, you're now going to show us on the demonstration on the ground. Now you're going to take it to the horse. So I'll let you go ahead and just take off, and I'll step out of the picture.
Okay, thank you. One of the things that I just want to talk about for just a second, we want to get into hand position, is that in so many of my clinics, what that I do see that goes on, I would say 90% of the people that come to my clinics can't hold on to their hand position. They drop their hand going into a turn. What that I kind of want to reiterate just for a quick second is that what that we need to concentrate on is always being able to keep a horse's shoulder up. And I want to put that into a term that maybe it'll be easier for everybody to kind of understand. I tell the kids and I tell the adults that to think about hand position as a tricycle. If you're going to ride a tricycle, you've got equal pressure on both sides of the reins. And consider the front end of this horse, the wheel in the front, the two tires in the back. You want to keep constant pressure on a horse's head. I like to keep just a little bit all the time. I don't throw him his head when I ask him to do something. But overflexation is a big problem, and when people tend to want to overflex a horse, they tend to want to drop their hand. Okay, so what that I have seen is going into a barrel, somebody who thinks that it's okay to get this much of a horse's head. They want to run out there and get this much. They think they're preparing a horse for the turn, when in actuality they're not. All you want to be able to see is the corner of a horse's eye and the tip of his nose, and that's entirely enough flexation. If you apply that theory to like the tricycle theory, if you're riding your tricycle and you come up and you make a really sharp turn, what happens to the front end of your horse? The front end of your horse goes over the same way that you would flip over on your tricycle the same direction. So if you want to keep forward motion going up into a barrel and up into the turn, you want to remember that overflexation is a serious thing, because you're going to bring the shoulder down on your horse. We're going to kind of stop there for a second. I want to back up and just say that when people do overflexate a horse and they're going into the turn, they have already created a horse that kind of drops his shoulder. And when he does that, their instant response is usually to grab the horse and try to bring him back around. Using the Fiesack theory the same way, they try to use strength over finesse. In that same aspect, keeping your elbows close to your rib cage, keeping your hands up is the way to go. And that way, you know, a horse, you don't teach a horse how to run from your hand or move away from your hand. He has to come back to you. We're going to go, I'm going to use this barrel really quickly, and I'm going to show you what I consider, and I'm going to use this as, per se, this is going into the second barrel. Every horse, to me, has a point of the turn. There are only so many steps around a barrel. And if you let a horse start a turn too soon, a stride or two back, if you don't get prepared to send him all the way up in here, what a horse will do is he starts his turn back here, and he has to add a step on the back side of this barrel in order to leave it. It's physically impossible for this horse to be able to leave properly because he started turning here, so he's had to add a step here, which usually will send your horse way out here, okay? So the main thing I want to kind of say really quickly is that find the point of the turn for your horse. It may not be the same on my horse or whomever. Everybody's horse is different. There's all different styles of horses. If you ride a Wanda Bush style horse, more of a run up in there, roll around. You keep a real round horse like Tammy Keys, things like that. But every one of those horses has a spot that they start their turn. So know what kind of horse that you're riding and find out what that is. And always be able to ride your horse with forward motion up in here, keeping your hands up. And that's kind of, you know, my theory behind being able to get a horse up in there so that they can turn around. We're going to start, I'm going to go back down here, and I want to talk about maybe a horse fading to a barrel. And a little drill that I think will help everybody. When I give my clinics, a lot of the time I see horses that'll come in and they automatically fade. The horses are fading because that the rib cage on the horse isn't up. I cannot stress enough that, in my opinion, the approach to a barrel is the most important part of the turn. Without a proper approach to a barrel, there's no way you can make a pretty turn. So what that I think that I don't care if you have a horse that perhaps doesn't take quite as much pocket. You may have one that's over here. You may have a horse that needs to be here. And that's a size determination on the way that the horse moves, either a big horse or a little horse, how much room that they take. But it doesn't matter what kind of horse that you have. I think that any horse that runs barrels has to hold their rib cage up. Nephew, this horse, he doesn't take too much pocket. So he runs in here, and I'm going to hold my hand right here, level with my waist. A little bit of nose, a little bit of inside. I want to see the corner of his eye and the tip of his nose. I'm going to squeeze a little bit with my inside foot to keep him upright. Now, his point of the turn is right here. This is where this horse has to go every time in order to start his turn. And I make sure that he gets up in here because it's very important this horse stays in forward motion. When I turn a barrel, I'm going to set a horse up right off the first barrel immediately. I'm not going to wait until I'm 2 steps out or 2 strides out. I'm going to set him up right here because I think proper practice of that sets the horse in motion to keep forward motion, and you don't have to mess with him so much with your hands coming across the pen. Anytime that you have to get into a horse's mouth too much, the obvious way is that you're going to slow him down, okay? Same thing goes when I go to the third barrel. Long straight lines. I try to stay from point A to point B. And I try to keep this horse moving straight, but his rib cage is up, and this is his point of the turn. He shouldn't start until he gets right here. So what I'm saying is find out where that is on your horse and send him there. If I have a horse that's going to drift a little bit to the first barrel, a drill that I use at the house is to walk one up here. And if I feel any resistance in their face, in their mouth, I'm going to stop him, make him take a couple of steps over, and I'm going to turn this horse around to the inside with a lifting motion, keeping his rib cage up and put him right back in his tracks. I'm going to send him straight up again. Right here, there's a little resistance. So I'm going to take him to the side a couple of steps. I'm going to turn the horse around and put him right back in his tracks, keeping his rib cage up. What I'm doing is unlocking the horse's jaw and reiterating that you have to stay in forward motion. That drill is not going to teach your horse to turn a barrel before a barrel. All you're doing is telling him that he has to unlock his jaw and give you his inside. We're going to do long straight lines from point A to point B. Right now, he kind of wants to be pushy right here. So I'm going to stop him. I'm going to pick him up to the inside a little bit. I'm going to turn the horse around and I'm going to put him back in his tracks. But I am not going to make him sling his rear end. I'm going to make him engage his hocks and get his rear right back up underneath him. And then we're going to go again. All the way to the point of the turn. And back around.
Laura, we've worked through hand positioning and we've worked through your body position on your horse, but there is a question about the point of the turn that I know our viewers would like to know. One thing is, I'm thinking, when I hear you talk, is I'm thinking, okay, now how am I going to go get on my big brown horse or my sorrel horse or whatever horse down at my barn, and I'm going to find that point of turn, because you said every horse, you got to find it. So tell me, I know you've had this horse for a long time, and tell me, if you just got on him, show me how you would find it, and explain that just a hair more.
Okay. What that I consider to be the point of the turn is when the point in which a horse's hocks are supposed to be engaged, okay? I would say that probably 90% of all barrel horses need to be engaged right here.
Okay.
Because of the fact that we don't want them breaking down back here in the back. We don't want them cutting us off 2 strides before we get there, because we have to drive. When you have to drive one in here, the likelihood that the shoulder is going down is pretty obvious.
Okay.
It's going to happen. You're fighting a horse. You're kind of fighting a losing battle. So you need to make sure that what I call the point of the turn, and it is different, a little bit different on every horse, and I'm not saying that it's different by a whole lot.
You're saying right in here.
I'm saying about where my knee is even with this barrel.
Okay.
Okay? A horse needs to be engaging his hocks back here.
Okay.
But use this as a gauge.
Right.
Okay? And you can go home and ride your horse, whether he's a big horse, a little horse, and you can lope him through the pattern.
Uh-huh.
That would be the best way to do it. Just get on him, lope him through the pattern a couple of times. Find out where this horse is wanting to break down.
Okay.
Okay? Most horses are trying to break down way too early for the turn.
Okay.
And it's right or error, because we repetitiously have picked up on them too soon.
Right.
We haven't stayed square with our body. We haven't pushed them in forward motion. We haven't got them all the way up in there. So what I'm going to say is feel that and then work on getting that horse up here to the point of the turn.
Okay.
And it is going to be a little bit different, because a little horse can run a little further.
Right.
They can get up here
Well,
a little deeper.
Yes.
And a bigger horse may have to have a break of about 2 feet further back.
Mm-hmm.
But it never really varies more than about 4 to 5 feet.
Okay. Well, I certainly appreciate it. Laura came on to give us some very valid tips, and Laura, thank you so much.
You're very
Be
welcome.
sure you visit her website. She does have a clinic schedule. It's www.lauraschumann.com. You can come to Winning Runs. She will be on there. She goes to e-barrel racing a lot on the bulletin board, so you can find her very easily. We appreciate you coming on and giving your
You're
tips,
very
and
welcome.
hope to have you back sometime soon.
All righty, thank you.